Welcome to the Approach podcast. I'm Cassidy Gates, founder of The Approach and creator of the Soma and Semantics practice. This is a place where curiosity comes first. Together we explore the science of behavior, communication, somatic practices, consciousness, leadership, and the patterns that shape how we think, speak, and live. Each conversation is an invitation to look through a different lens, not to tell you what to believe, but to give you ideas worth examining. At The Approach, we believe the body primes, words cast, actions create. Now let's begin today's conversation. Welcome to The Approach. This is Cassidy, and I have Kameron with me today. She is a certified marriage coach, but I think she also holds many other hats. Kameron?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I do hold a lot of other hats.
I usually try to call them out, but I'm gonna butcher some names and everything. So I was gonna let you tell us a little bit about some of them.
Yeah. So we are a family that homeschools. We so many different hats. I am a certified marriage coach. I used to teach, so I was a kindergarten teacher for kindergarten to second grade for over a decade. So do that. I do a little bit of podcast production as well, like on the side. So and then I also recently wrote a book. So it's a very short, small book, but
I don't care. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
and I'm sure working with those kids, I'm sure it makes you patient, makes you more observant.
It did. Yeah, it did. I don't teach anymore. I went full-time as a marriage coach. This will be the start of my 5th year out of the classroom. So yeah, super exciting. But yeah, it does definitely help you develop more patience and a lot more. It's actually helped me become a better coach because I have seen what they went through in their home lives and things like that. So I have a better amount of empathy and experience and like, okay, what do these kids need from these parents? Now, how can I help these parents get there in order to learn that? So yeah, it's everything in life has helped me to where I'm at now.
And with people and their issues, like when they have insecurities or they get upset, when they have one of those lenses of emotion, it will show you kind of a little reflection of something they have not dealt with in their childhood.
Absolutely. Everything goes back to your childhood. Everything.
So I'm trying to think, what can I ask? I guess we'll just see how you can answer. What is some of the strangest things you've come across?
This is what's really interesting is that the strangest things the things that seem strange to other people aren't really that, like, when you look at it, it's really not that strange. Everything. So what I like to tell people is that when you come to me and you're like, my marriage is struggling and I need help, blah, blah, blah. The nuances of your marriage are going to feel really heavy and you're like, so many of them are like, man, I just don't even know if you can help me. Like, we're just so far gone. And when I look at it, I'm like, this is a molehill. This is not a mountain. This is not the mountain that you think it is. Right. So, it's really not as hard as what it looks like on the surface when you're so emotionally attached to it. When you back up, it really falls under a lot of the same things. The root problems of what everybody goes through really fall into some specific categories. So some buckets that we can put it in, like money, for example. The fight that you guys are having is never the fight that you're having. Okay. It's always deeper than what you're having. So on the surface, you're fighting about money. Let's just use that for an example. You're not actually fighting about money, though. You're fighting about what money means. So you're fighting about respect. You're fighting about power. You're fighting about security, or you are fighting about freedom. Money means one of those 4 things to you and one of those 4 things to your spouse. And most likely, it's not going to be the same thing. So for men, a lot of times, having more money means respect, power, or freedom. But for women, 9 times out of 10, it's going to mean security. The more money you have, the more secure you are, right? Your future, you don't like, your nervous system is not on overdrive because you're not worried that you're going to die or that you're not going to have a house to live in or what have you, right? So there's that. Communication. Communication is not really communication. You're fighting over what your partner keeps saying that means something to you, that you're making it mean, again, going back to that childhood, based on a trauma influenced self-belief. And this is the other misconception, is that people think, well, my parents didn't get divorced, and we weren't beat, and we didn't go without food, so I don't have any trauma. And then I look at them and say, how are your emotional needs? Were they met? And they look like I have 6 heads. And that's the trauma. The trauma is you were emotionally neglected as a kid. Or the trauma is that maybe you moved a lot as a kid. Maybe you were, in the military, or, you just moved a lot, whatever the case may be. Maybe you moved from the city to the country when you were 9. And, that was traumatic for you because you had to leave all your friends behind or something like that. So it doesn't have to be big T trauma like we always think. It can be little t. And that creates a filter that you then take through the rest of your life. What if you had a coach in junior high that didn't really like you and made fun of you a lot, and like now you feel like you have to earn a place on the team, you have to earn the place in your marriage, that you're not just loved for who you are. Maybe you learned growing up that love was conditional. If you clean your room, I will love you. If you get good grades, I will love you. So you were constantly fighting for that. There's so many things that our communication, we make it mean something when our partner says something. And that could be their tone that they use. It could be a facial expression, body language, the word choice that they have, anything like that. So yeah, to go back to your original question, the strange things that I find always fall into the same buckets. We just don't realize that because that's why I'm the expert. That's why I have the education, experience, and exposure that I have. So,
and I was speaking to a client earlier, and it does make it difficult outside of just being there educating people, because I do it through the lens of soma and semantics.
Yes.
We communicate with our body, and I feel like we communicate more with our body with language, because just like you said, something from childhood, you're filtering it different. So now you're looking through it through a different lens. They're over here looking at it through their lens.
Yeah.
And what y'all are communicating, you're not even communicating.
Exactly.
Like, you have to be able to get rid of that lens and switch it. You have to pull away, hear the words, get rid of any belief you have with that word, any emotion that you have with it, and look at what they're saying.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like the trauma, like you were saying, everybody, they hear trauma and they're like, the new stigma, they're like, okay, well, trauma, you're traumatized. No, like you said with the little t, generational trauma.
Yeah.
How we were raised, like you can't cry.
Yeah.
Those are just little things like that throughout your life is the trauma. That is it's what's embedded in your brain. Like you said, when they look at you with 6 heads, because that's so embedded in their brain. Like, what are you talking about? Emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Like, it was normal. Like, my lifestyle was normal. And if you don't know the difference or different perceptions, how do you know what's normal anyways?
Well, and this is the thing. I don't even think there is a normal, to be honest. But the thing about it is that, like, even like you were talking about generational trauma, even chemistry in your body, like anxiety, for example, that's passed down. Like, if your dad and his sister and your grandparent always had trauma, then or they always had anxiety, then yeah, you're gonna feel that way. And so yeah, I mean, like, all of it, it's all
that's actually epigenetics. That's what it is. It is actually passed down through your genes.
Yeah. What you were saying about body language, so what people don't realize is that communication is 58% body language. This is why the keyboard warriors on Facebook and all the things are a thing, because communication is only 7% words. if you can't, like, you can say something, and this is why I love voice texting. I love voice notes because you're getting 42% of the message versus 7 if you're just reading words. You can hear people's tone. You can hear the voice inflection. You can understand, like, it makes so much more of the message that you're receiving. But along those lines, I love what you said about hearing what's underneath it. Because, for instance, okay, if your spouse comes to you and says, God, you're always on your phone, what are they saying underneath it? It's not, I'm mad that you're always on your phone. They couldn't care less if you're always on your phone. What they're actually saying is, I miss you. I feel like we're disconnected. I would like to connect with you. But it comes out, you're always on your phone. Now, is that okay that it always comes out that way? No. The speaker actually needs to work on their dialogue and the way that they show up and the way that they, the way that they approach the situation. Because 90% of the time, the way that you start a conversation is going to be the way that it ends. So if you're attacking in the beginning, it's probably not going to work out very well for you. But if you come and say, hey, like, is now a really good time to talk about you being on your phone? Like, I feel like we're missing each other or something like that. That's going to go a lot better than you're always on your phone. But there, again, when you're hearing that, the filter that you have is, I'm never good enough. Nothing I do is ever good enough. But what they're saying is, you are good enough. So much so that I miss you. And I love you. And I want you to be with me. So, yeah, it's interesting the way that relationships work.
And if you always, it depends on the way you approach the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, like, one of the things I still struggle with, even though I'm very aware of it. Also, I'm even aware, like, I'll start feeling my body and everything. I've not made it all the way through it, but that's how I've figured out most of the things, is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
If my husband comes in and starts cleaning,
Mm.
I'm instantly extremely nervous. What did I do wrong? What do you need help with? I'm sorry it's not already done. And it's the instant thoughts in my head from previous experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm terrified. And even though I will even practice sitting still and not saying anything, because it's a normal thing. That is a normal thing. But for me, my body is like, just be still. It's normal. It's normal, because it's something I'm having to relearn in my head, something I'm having to embed in my head, because that had such a strong emotion with it that it was deeply embedded and it was repeated. So it's made that loop in my brain that goes there every time. And I catch it really fast. Like, I know when I'm in that state. Let's say he comes up to say something to me about it, because people do speak. Like, I have to realize I'm looking through that lens right now. I can feel it in my body. I have to be careful how I respond right now, because I know what state I'm in, and what he says, I might interpret it completely wrong now. So
does he ever, when he starts cleaning, does he ever say, like, hey, I just want you to know you didn't do anything wrong. Like, I'm not mad or anything. I'm just doing this to help out.
No, we've had those conversations now, but, like, he knows, like, because the first few times I'll jump up and I'll be like, I was going to get to that later. Like, I'll like, it's okay. And he's like, it's good. Like, you're fine. Like, I was just going to do it because I said I was going to do it. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's been one of my biggest things, is stuff to do with cleaning.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has their own triggers.
It's just a understanding of, that's what I'm saying, is he's completely calm, rational, but I just switch lenses.
Yeah.
And that's how I see what you're talking about, is they experience this. So when you do this, they're experiencing that again.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what you say, like you said, does he ever come up to me and say that? Not really. He don't understand it, but I understand it now. That's why people always say you have to take care of it. Like, you have to fix it for you.
Yes, you have to do the work. And honestly, that's what I tell people all the time. If you want a better marriage, you've got to stop blaming your partner and you've got to start with yourself because it always, always, always starts with the deep inner work that you have to do. And everybody has work that they have to do. I mean, unless you are like Jesus Christ himself, you're not perfect. So you've got to do things, you've got things to work on. And this is the thing is that like when you work through those traumas and you actually like process them and you've worked through them to the point where they aren't a trigger anymore, then you stop having that filter. I was just on a call with a client right before this, and he was saying that one of his big things is judgment, that he's judged his entire family for the way that he grew up and the way that the way that they parented or the lack thereof and like all these other things. And what he's starting to realize is like the way that his mom was raised is actually exponentially worse than the way that she parented. So even though it wasn't perfect by societal standards, it was pretty dang good by her standards because of what she grew up with. And this is the thing too, Cassidy, is that people don't realize, like, we think that we're qualified to get into a marriage just because we're old enough to get married. But the reality is, this is why the divorce rate's 60%, because we're not qualified to be in a marriage. We have not done the inner work. And it's in the beginning when we're in that honeymoon stage, it's just our chemistry being attracted to their chemistry. That's all it is. Well, is your attachment, which was formed in birth to 3 and how you were raised. So it's all of that is the polarity that's there in your relationship is basically, hi, I had a crappy childhood and I had a crappy childhood. And so together, we're going to get together and we're going to like try to sort through this together. But if you didn't have a good upbringing, if you didn't see a good marriage, if you didn't see good communication skills, if you didn't see good repair skills, you could have had the best parents that had the happiest marriage in the world. But if you didn't see how they repaired, how are you going to know how to do that? You're not. So then, like, I'll give you an example. My brother and sister-in-law, phenomenal people, absolutely wonderful. But Cooper, my brother, grew up where, like, we saw our parents argue all the time, but we never saw them make up. They did that after we went to bed at night. My sister-in-law never saw her parents argue at all. They went to the bedroom and they would like whisper yell and they would be like, you made a mistake. You did that. Like that. So the kids never heard that. So when those two got together, Cooper's like just letting it fly. And he'll say whatever he wants, has an argument, feels like, oh, it's not a big deal. We'll be better tomorrow. My sister-in-law is like, no, like happy couples don't fight. We're headed for divorce and we've only been married 6 months, So they had, that was something that they had to really learn, is how to repair, because both of them grew up in wildly different environments. Neither one of them wrong, but this is how it goes, is that we're not really qualified based on what we've seen. We have to be qualified based on what we learn and what we choose for ourselves. Because there again, too, what worked for my parents may not work for me and my husband. What worked for your parents may not work for you and your husband. So yeah, it's really important to look at that and figure things out together.
I think throughout history, though, we started with you didn't leave no matter what.
Exactly.
Now we have this point you can leave. So it's like nobody truly understands like the foundational of how you take two different people with two different upbringings, all their own experience, and come together and work together.
Yeah.
And then you have, what was I? I used to be like one of those people, I attach and I do the avoidant. And that was one of the things, is like, you really have to cultivate your own identity. Like a healthy relationship, because I was telling somebody the other day, is you have a circle and then you have a circle. Y'all just overlap a little bit and you have two different lives. You meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You have to respect each other's boundaries and needs. You have to talk it out. But you also have to be very firm with what you need. And I feel
this
like
is the
women
other
still
problem.
struggle with that.
If you've learned to be a fawner and people please instead of, or if you've grown up, this is what my book's all about, is self-awareness. If you don't have self-awareness, a lot of times you're going to do things, and I see this constantly in couples that I'm coaching, is the resentment. And unfortunately, like, I hate to throw women under the bus here, but this is what happens a lot of times with women, is that we'll do things and we'll say yes when we really mean no, or we'll say no when we really mean yes. And then what happens is we build this resentment, and we don't realize that resentment is ours to deal with. It has nothing to do with our partner. It is the expectation that we set that didn't happen. And even that, there is a significant amount of arrogance there, where we feel like, well, because I set this expectation, it had to happen that way. I said that we were leaving at 3:00, but you didn't actually get off work until 4 or 5 or whatever. Or you had to do X, Y, and Z before we could leave. And I asked you to do even more this morning, so then you didn't get your stuff, so that, you see what I'm saying? So, like, because our expectations aren't met, that's when we build the resentment. So we have all this resentment when we bring into the relationship, and men do it too, of course. Women are just worse at it.
Yeah.
That then what happens is that we have all of this built up, and we're sitting there blaming our partner, when really we need to take that blame and turn it back towards ourselves and say, what did I do? How did I need to fix that? How did I not communicate the expectations that I had? So
see, like, with all situations, that is the thing, is, okay, this person, they did this, they did that. Cool. But what's in my control to do? That's where you focus, is what can I do to control the situation, or what can I express, or do I need to step away and let them call, like, what can I do? We can't control anybody else.
And how much of your control that you're trying to have is actually an illusion?
During this brief break, this is Cassidy Gates with the Approach Podcast. I just wanted to share one of my new services, the Approach Podcast Creator Packages. I'm here to help creators launch, streamline, and grow their podcasts through strategy, automation, branding, websites, guest management, social media, and ongoing support, building the system so you can focus on your voice. The second service I offer, the practice, soma and semantics. If you are wanting to get more in tune with your body and understand what it's trying to tell you, or if you want to understand how the words you speak shape your life and everyone else's around you, I invite you, look through the links below, schedule a chat with me, reach out. I'm here to facilitate you through the process of infinite refinement. Now, I welcome you back to the Approach.
Is actually an illusion. Because a lot of times there's so many ways that life has humbled me, where I have thought, I'm in control of X, Y, or Z, and I'm not in control of any of it. And it doesn't even have to do with other people. It's just, if circumstance A doesn't work out for me here, then circumstance B can't fall into place. Then circumstance C can't. You see what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah.
That's actually a step I'm working on in my framework right now. It's the 8 threads, but it's kind of like, it's the polarity. So like, we can plan, but we also have to be willing for it to change. It's like, it goes through things like that all the way down, the polarity of all things. Like, we can plan, we can work towards something, but when it falls apart, we just switch and keep going. Like, we can't, it's that non-attachment and non-aversion. Like, you just, we can't control everything.
We get so upset. It almost makes me laugh now when I look at it, but we get so upset by things not working out. And what we don't realize is that we ourselves are the common denominator, and most of the time the cause of 99.9% of our pain, of our negative feelings, of our anxiety, of our big emotions that we have. We're the cause of that, not somebody else. It's either a filter that we're using, it's a belief that we made it mean that they didn't know that meant that. Like you said, like the cleaning thing, and your husband's like, wait, what? So it's a filter, it's an expectation, it's something we didn't communicate. It's like we are the ones that cause 90% of that. And then, or we start controlling, and it's not ours to control.
And that's something I always I had a hard time with it. I'm sure we all did, because depending on how you were raised, we watch Disney movies.
Mm-hmm.
We
That's a
have
big
that
one.
white knight syndrome.
Oh yeah,
So,
that everything's
and
happily ever after.
we expect them to know what we want without telling them. That is the biggest lie in the world. They think completely different than we do. You better learn how to express it, or you are going to have so much resentment. Just tell them. Now,
Yeah.
like I'll tell my husband, and I'll tell my friends, that's what I do. I will tell him exactly what I want and expect, like on my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, so if you don't, then I probably will be mad because I've told you. But you can't be mad at something, expectations like that was never given to them. They can't read your mind. Like, I don't really understand why we still do that. It seems very back to your childhood.
That and ego. Our ego leads everything, and it's actually our biggest enemy. We don't realize how much we need to take our ego and tie it to a stake and burn it.
I still catch
Because
things I do because of an ego, but getting rid of that, or not rid of it, it's always going to be a fight. Letting that go is what was able, like, what made me able to do this is I had to, I'm like, I don't care. So this is what I want to do. Yes, I'm terrified and I might get embarrassed, but what does that matter? Like externally, what does that matter? Ego controls a lot.
Yeah.
Those
Sure
masks we
does.
wear. I don't know how many
Defensiveness.
people.
Every
I
time
don't
you
know
get
how many.
defensive, that's your ego. You're protecting your ego versus connecting.
And I'm just now learning, because I am still struggle with people pleasing sometimes, or accepting things I hear. So I had a comment made to me, of course, whenever I started going down this path of how I made somebody feel. And it ate at me for a while because I made them feel a certain way, and it made me uncomfortable. And I thought about it on and off because they were important in my life. And I finally realized I do the same thing with everybody else. Nobody has a problem with it. They actually enjoy it. So she was projecting it, and it worked. Like, she was projecting how she felt about it, and it wasn't me causing it. It was an insecurity inside her. And it's, even understanding that, it makes it easier understanding people. It makes it easier for holding space for people, but it still is hard.
Yeah, it is, because the thing is, like, what we're trying to create an experience for people. And when we're connecting with them, or we're having a conversation with them, yes, we need to be mindful of that experience that we are creating for people. You can't just walk through the world and be a jackwagon, right? At the same time, you can't make anyone feel something at all. You can't make them feel love. You can't make them feel pain. You can't make them feel anger. You can't. That is all, again, going back to, what are we making it mean? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. I pulled into Target the other day. My son works there, so I was picking him up. And there was a guy that pulled in behind me. Well, he pulled in too close to see my lights. So I put my hazards on, signaling like, hey, and I was out of the walkway. I was out of the, like, there was plenty of room for him to drive around. And the guy behind him drove around. I waved like, hey, sorry about that. I understand I was in your way. This guy starts honking. And I like motioned like, hey, go around. No big deal. Flips me off, pulls up to the side of my window, and he drives a big old truck. So now he's blocking the entire way, the entire drive for people to drive around, starts screaming obscenities at me. And my son, my youngest son, he's 5, he's in the back, and he goes, that guy is not having a very good day. And I was like, apparently not. Like, that's not, yes, I did create an experience for him that was, hey, you're in my way, you're blocking traffic. At the same time, don't pull so close forward that you can't see my lights that are flashing, signaling, hey, I'm gonna be here a second. You know what I mean? Also, why? What is the purpose in screaming at others, at somebody else, and screaming obscenities at that? Like, that just says way more about you than it does about them. So I didn't make him feel anger. I didn't make him feel the need to be a jerk. Like, that was all on him. And I don't know. Maybe his wife told him she wanted a divorce that day. Maybe his grandma died. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what happened that day. But he was that, I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time with him. And that's fine. But if they're yelling at you and then you're also letting that mean something to you, this is how the world is, why it is.
Yeah, we feed off each other.
Absolutely.
And that was when I had to start studying speaking so much, because I would go quiet when I would go in the freeze fawn. So I actually had just made it to freeze. I had a totally different subject. I want to go down on that. But I had to learn how to speak, but without like saying ugly things. I didn't know how, because I didn't want to say those things, but I didn't know what to say, because it has to be modeled for you.
Yeah.
So I found resources, and the biggest, easiest resource and go-to is pointing it out. Kind of like you said, he's having a bad day. Maybe not in that extreme of a situation, but somebody comes up to you and they're being, are you okay? Are you having a bad day? All you do is point it out. That has been the easiest way to de-escalate it, because you actually get them to realize their self or what state they're in. Just point it out, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, the other rabbit hole. I don't know who it was I was listening to, but it was actually man, and they were talking about that, the fight or flight, talking about how they were trying to not live a relationship with fight or flight. They didn't want their woman in the state of fight or flight. They tried to promote that peace and calmness and that communication. So even though we all are different and experiencing things different, we are all coming like together to start to realize that there's something we still need to learn. Like you said, nobody, like truly most people today is not qualified, if any, to be married, because we don't have that foundational knowledge of actually the flow together.
Yeah.
Like the communicating together, respecting each other's boundaries, if not working together, find a solution, not just finding the stopping point.
Yep.
What else can we do? There is usually always an alternative to everything.
Absolutely. And a lot of that's leadership too. Like that guy that was saying, like, I don't want my woman to be in fight or flight. Yeah, because if she is, she's going to be in her masculine energy, and there can't be two masculines in a relationship. Somebody has to, there has to be polarity there. Otherwise, it's just two alpha males fighting for the pride. That's not going to go very well.
I mean, if people always say nature is like the easiest thing to study. Like 100%. It goes down to the primitive points of it. Like, let's say, I might be in control and stuff when I go to work, but when I get home, I don't feel like making every choice. I don't feel like doing all the bills. I need the leadership.
Yes.
And he takes over on those spots. Yep. And I actually had to stay the masculine side for so long that I've had to learn how to kind of come back to just having that feminine quality of, I get to be the one who notices more of the emotional needs or where we're functioning from as a family. And of course I don't love it.
Yeah.
My teenagers and stuff, they don't really love it, because I'll usually be like, hey, kind of like pointing it out, like I was saying, hey, is everything okay? Like, are you feeling insecure? Like, is there something bothering you? Are you getting bullied? Just being able to understand why they're reacting that way. And I'm sure my husband doesn't enjoy it either, because I'll even stop and be like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not coming at you. I'm simply asking a question.
Yes.
Because he's had his own experiences. And unfortunately, I can see where people's reactions usually stem from. And it's like, you have to make them understand, hey, that it's not where I'm coming from. I'm not doing that. I'm
Yeah.
just asking a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really important too, is clarifying. That leadership's so important in a relationship, and the clarification and and all of that's communication. But again, if you haven't been shown how to do that, like, how are you going to know? So yeah, no, I love that. I love that you are forthcoming with that and being like, hey, I'm just asking a question. And this is the thing too. I experience this a lot, is a lot of times we will call that defensiveness. And there is a massive difference between an explanation and a defensiveness. Like, defensiveness is truly protecting your ego, right? So when you're saying, hey, I'm just asking a question here, I'm not trying to, like, you're explaining, you're trying to give context to that. Whereas the defensiveness would be like, wow, sorry, like something like that. You're, number one, pouring gasoline on the fire, not water. And two, you're protecting your own ego. So when you're protecting your own ego, that's absolutely defensiveness. But when you're giving a context of like, whoa, hold on, I'm pouring water here, not gasoline. That's an explanation. And that, I don't think people realize that enough.
Yeah, and like, oh, this is still going to be kind of primitive. Just like we do need to control those reactions, we still get to play around, because I tell people all the time, I still do what's, considered as what, acting needy. I don't know. That whole, will you please do it for me? You
Yeah.
love me, right? But some things are natural and normal. Like, there has to be a balance. We can't just be completely serious all the time. We have to know how to play around with each other. Just
Yeah.
like with puppies, when you watch them, of course they establish their hierarchy, but they still play around with each other and wrestle.
One of the things that I like to do with my clients is ask them, like, if they're just bickering constantly, I'm like, what would you do right now if this were easy? What would change in your life? What would change in your relationship if this were just easy? And a lot of times they'll give me an answer, and I'm like, okay, why can't you do that right now? And it really makes them think. Like, it makes them stop and be like, oh, why can't we do that right now? You totally can, but you're not, because your ego's in the way. So, like, yeah, we get into those gridlock systems, and it's, or even the gridlock problems, and it's, how can I make this easy? How can I make this better? It's self-centeredness.
And like,
When we stop being self-centered, we start coming to solutions.
you use the ego brain, and I actually usually do use like the biological brain or the primitive brain, because with that ego, like, almost in every scenario in life, it is functioning. And most people cannot, or have not had it demonstrated how to bypass it, or not bypass it, learn to work with it. I don't know, adjust it, because there's healthy ego too. Like, one of the things with anger, or anger coming from a new experience, but was actually stemmed from a past experience. I have that anger. I'm going to have that anger. Place it in a direction. Place it into a passion. Take anger and turn it into passion. Or if you have those negative thoughts, and you've always had negative thoughts, they turn into a habit. So if you have an obsessive bad thoughts and insecurities, find something to work on outside of you that you could be passionate about, or just keep trying stuff till you find something that you really want to do, and put that obsession in that way. Like, everything can be manipulated, influenced, and worked with. And you were speaking earlier just about how doing voice recordings is big different than reading words.
Huge.
That is why coaching and public speaking, or speaking to somebody, is so important. It is different. It's influential. It's having something modeled that you haven't seen, having somebody verbalize something that isn't familiar. Like, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense when I'm around them, but then when I go back to my life, it's like, that wasn't real. Or I can read all this in a book, but that's not real life. But when you meet somebody, or you speak to somebody where it is real life, you see it's actually sustainable. Like it's a real thing. This
But it's
is
also
possible.
leadership. It is absolutely possible. And the thing is that it's positive because the person you're talking to, the person that you're getting influence from, isn't emotionally attached to the situation that you're in. Everything looks clearer when you rise above it. Everything. So when you bring that up to your prefrontal cortex and you can actually start thinking logically again, it's not that big of a deal. Rise above it. How can you make it easy? Right? So when you're looking at it that way, everything is clearer. Everything. But the coaching is why it's so important, because we're looking at things from a completely different lens than what you are. A lot of times, like being a coach, I tell my clients this all the time. It doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It means that I've screwed up more than you. And I'm also about 10 steps ahead in my screw ups, that I've done that and then been like, oh, okay, here's how you fix it. And like, that's the only reason that I'm qualified to do what I'm able to do. I've been divorced. I've reconciled with my husband. I've been divorced twice and reconciled with my second husband. I've gone through infertility. I've gone through infidelity. You know what I mean? Like, I've been there. So yeah, I get how hard it is to rebuild trust. I get how hard it is to completely get over your filters that you had from childhood and go through that work, and how hard that is. I get it. And also, this is why I did it. This is why I got the help, because I needed somebody that wasn't emotionally attached to the situation to give me the logical solutions I was looking for. There's no shame.
Like, my friends had always come to me for advice, and that has been a struggle.
Yep.
Because you probably know exactly what I'm saying, because I'm sure you say it. Are you sure you want me to speak freely? Because it's not going to be what you want to hear.
Yep, every time.
I'll say, want me here as a friend, or do you?
Yep. I say that all the time. I'm like, do you want an answer as a friend, or do you want an answer as a coach? And they're like, both. And I'm like, I can't give you both. You got to pick one, because they're polar opposite. If I'm going to come to you as a friend, I'm going to be like, well, that really sucks.
Yeah.
And that's it. But if I'm going to tell you as a coach, I'm going to straight up tell you, I'm tired of hearing about your problem that you're not fixing. So here is what you like. Legitimately, this is what you need to do. And this is also why I think coaches should have coaches. I have a coach that I'm not sure what I would do without her, because I legitimately, like, I need that too. Yes. Just like you do, just like everybody else does.
Because you never realize when your ego is in play.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you catch it, but there's a lot of things you don't catch until you're talking to somebody else. And sometimes all it takes is them listening, because I'll speak out loud and I'll be like, oh, never mind. I see it now.
Yeah.
It's like, I see it.
Yep. Same. Makes me laugh.
But like, I don't know. That is why I'm just so big on the whole soma and semantics, the body and the language, everything you're doing. Like, it's all feeding the environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go home and you're negative and you're in a bad mood, you just brought that to the entire household. It is, if you look at it like a sickness that is contagious.
Yeah.
You just brought that to the entire environment. And I know I do, down the scientific lens, do look at how they talk about energy and frequency and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the body language, like, just like in the past, we had to watch for danger. We had to watch postures change if somebody was going to attack. We had to watch the tone. So that is epigenetics coming out, like those body postures, like, okay, well, they're definitely a leader.
Yep.
Or they just get, well, they're definitely mad. They're, no telling if they're going to strike or something, or if it's, okay, so they're safe. Like, they ain't going to do anything.
Yeah.
People read your language, like they read your body language, and you react from other people's body language. That's an awareness that really helps you out if you study it. If you study their body language versus on what you're putting out.
Yep. Body language is 58% of your communication.
Yeah.
So this is, and when you're married, especially, or like the people that you live in your household with, you read them before they even read themselves. So this is why I get, it makes me chuckle when people are like, well, my partner keeps saying this over and over and over, but I just don't believe it. You don't have to believe it, but you didn't marry an imbecile. So, obviously if they're telling you something over and over and over, there's a reason that they're telling you that. So, yeah, just I don't know. Again, it comes back to self-awareness too. We're just
And just
we're
about
lacking it.
everything in life can come to simple phrases. And I don't know if it's kind of like the phrases, we got phrase fatigue, we'll call it that. We got phrase fatigue. Simple things. If you're going to complain about it, then do something about it.
Yes.
So, and
Yes.
honestly, that's got me on this path too. Is that was part of it. Is it was the things I changed my brain. Is, well, if I'm complaining about it, then obviously I need to do something about
Do
it.
something about it. Yep.
But
I tell
we,
my kids I tell my kids, if you're gonna, because like if we spend negative time on, this is never gonna work, I'm never gonna do it, it's impossible, blah blah blah. Okay, great. You just spent. There was one day I told my 5-year-old, I said, you have spent 17 minutes on the negative. Now you get to spend 17 minutes on the positive. And he goes, what? And I said, you've just told me for 17 minutes how cleaning your room is impossible and it's never going to work and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, now, if you're going to spend that much time on the negative, now you got to spend that much time on the positive. And he was like, okay, I won't say anything anymore. Like, but it's true. If you're, I mean, people who worst case scenario everything. I'm like, if you're going to spend the negative, spend time on the negative. Now you got to spend time on the positive. And it does. It shifts your entire thought process.
that's what I was about to say. If you get them to do that,
Yep.
what you're thinking and
Rewires
your
your brain.
thoughts is your intention, and it shifts entirely. And more than likely, they're going to walk away and be like, okay, like this is no problem. I'll just go clean my room.
Yeah.
It's just where you put your attention.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was going to ask, what all services do you offer?
I work with couples to help them overcome their conditioning and become qualified to be in a marriage and actually build a marriage that they choose, that works for their family, that they enjoy, that all of, that they've chosen. And then I also work with individuals, because a lot of times people want to better their marriage, but their spouse isn't on board yet or what have you. And I do the exact same thing with the spouse as an individual. I will work with you, man or woman. I will work with you to help you overcome that conditioning, to help you understand a different perspective, to help you be able to understand your filters, your self beliefs, your emotions, your feelings, and then the emotionally triggered behaviors that you have in order to move forward and have a better marriage and a better life, even if your partner isn't on board with you.
And you said you're currently working on a book, or you already have the book?
I already have the book. Yeah. It's Connected to Me, the blueprint. It's very, very thin, but it's 8 pillars, and it is just questions that you can use as like a journal prompt, or you can just use it, like look at it and just ponder it as you're driving down the road, but basically it helps you build self-awareness. So yeah, and then there's always, so I'm really big on writing down your breakthroughs. So in every pillar, there is a space for you to write down your breakthroughs, because I feel like if you don't remember the breakthroughs that you had and those aha moments, life is going to continue to give you the lesson over and over until you do remember them. So if you write them down and you review them every now and then you're not going to have those hard lessons continue to pop up. So.
And for everyone listening, that would be a great resource. If you're not comfortable talking to anyone yet, start with that. And then maybe you'll work up to being able to speak to somebody.
Absolutely.
But I will actually have her information below. Kameran, it's been great talking to you. And I truly hope we get to do this again.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Have me on anytime. I will come back.
Thanks for listening to the Approach podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode. Be sure you don't miss what's coming next. We're just getting this practice started. Check out the links below to visit theapproach.net. Connect with today's guest, explore their content, discover more episodes and resources, support the podcast, or learn how to become a guest or collaborate. Until next time, thanks for being a part of The Approach.